Wow. Such long lines to vote today.
Yeah, people seem to really care about this one.
I wonder how the results are looking.
Here, let's look on my phone.
We live in D.C. At the White House right now. People are stopping to watch election results on CNN as we get closer to another important round of results. We are counting down to poll closings in 4 more states at the top of the hour. The battleground state of Iowa, as well as Montana and Nevada, another swing state, and finally Utah. Together, those states have another 21 electoral votes. I believe every vote is vital to getting to the winning total of 270. Both presidential campaigns are prepared for a long night.
Wow, crazy. Sounds like I'm gonna be up late tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I better get home to keep watching. Hi honey, I'm home. Sorry it's so late, voting lines were crazy today.
Yay! So happy you're home. I love watching election results.
It was so hard deciding who to vote for today. While I was in line I just kept thinking about who I thought would do the best job responding if we go into another recession.
That's a good point. But didn't you take econ in college? You should have learned that a lot of that happens without the president doing anything.
What? That makes no sense.
Yes, it does. Even if Congress and the president can't agree on how to respond to a recession, the government would still help combat this problem automatically.
How is that possible?
If the government doesn't directly intervene, there are still programs in place that automatically adjust based on economic activity. They adjust differently depending on whether the economy is experiencing growth or recession. These are called automatic stabilizers.
That sounds great, but I don't really get it. Can you tell me more about what they are and how they work?
Well, I remember the 2 main things that automatically adjust are taxes and government benefits like welfare. And they adjust differently depending on our economic state.
But I still don't understand. How does it work?
Okay. I can't really remember all the details. Let's see what I can find in my old notes.
Why do you still have those?
Econ is so useful. I wish everyone had to learn stuff like this. It's so relevant to our everyday life. You never know when some of it might come in handy. Like right now. Yeah, this is awesome. Look what I found. See, a lot of this we already talked about. Automatic stabilizers are an endogenous part of fiscal policy that reduce severity of fluctuations in the economic cycle. The graph really shows it. The green line shows what happens as a result of automatic stabilizers. The lows aren't as low and the highs aren't as high. In a period of growth, income and profits both increase. As a result, everyone is paying more in taxes. This means some of the excess money is going back to the government. At the same time, more people are finding jobs. Because of this, the government spends less money on unemployment and welfare benefits. The government is injecting less money. Overall, this helps curb inflationary pressure. This is a good thing. The opposite is true when we are in a recession, with revenues falling. Businesses can't afford to pay as many workers, so unemployment expenditures increase. Tax revenue will also fall because of this. The recession won't be as deep as it would have been. This is awesome. The way a government would choose to combat a recession is by increasing spending anyways. This way it just happens automatically.
Alright, I get it. Basically taxes and unemployment automatically shift based on how the economy is doing to make things better for everyone?
Yep. Softening the rises and falls of economic cycles is great. So many people focus on the government response to the recession, but what happened automatically is just as important.
It's obvious you know what you're talking about, so I believe you, but why?
Well, one of the main problems in politics is partisanship between Congress and the president, which can keep anything from actually being done.
It makes me so angry. Politics are the worst.
Exactly. It seems obvious anyone involved in the government would want to help the economy recover from a recession. But sometimes political arguments get in the way.
Politics are so annoying.
Exactly. That's why automatic stabilizers are so important, because they are outside the political system. Politics can get in the way of things, but not automatic stabilizers.
Well, isn't some government spending discretionary?
Of course. This graph illustrates what government spending looked like in 2013. We can see here that 35% of government spending was discretionary, which is pretty standard.
Okay, that makes sense, I think.
Well, think about it this way. The best way for the government to help the economy recover is by spending more money. So this way it happens automatically. There are also instances when a government's taxing and spending is for purposes other than economic stabilization.
Isn't economic stabilization always the goal? Why else would they adjust taxing and spending?
Again, that's what we would think. Sometimes government taxing and spending is adjusted for another purpose, but ends up stabilizing the economy as well. For example, in the early 1980s, President Ronald Reagan increased defense spending to promote national security. An unintended result of this was how increased spending affected real GDP and employment.
But isn't it bad for the government to spend too much? Everyone is talking about the horrible deficit and not wanting to raise the debt ceiling.
That's true. But in reality, deficit spending is incredibly important to help the economy recover, and there is no real danger in it.
What about Clinton? Wasn't he the best ever for getting the government into a surplus?
Yay! Surplus! I was the greatest president ever!
No, Bill, you're wrong. So much of that was caused by the automatic stabilizers and the domestic private sector. And surplus isn't even good.
I'm the worst president ever!
Then what might have led to a surplus?
There was increased investor and consumer confidence, which led to increases in investment and consumption spending. So it was really the role that the domestic private sector played as a result of automatic stabilizers.
But didn't Clinton increase taxes and cut government spending when he came into office? Aren't these contractionary fiscal policies?
Yes, and still the economy boomed. This demonstrates the impact that automatic stabilizers have on the economy and how discretionary fiscal policies can never fully explain the state of the economy. That is why automatic stabilizers are so important.